Sometimes, we exhaust ourselves more than necessary. We think too much, worry about every detail, calculate every possible outcome, and imagine countless scenarios, only to find ourselves frustrated when life does not unfold as we expected. We ask ourselves, why is what I hoped for delayed? Why does the path I thought was best suddenly change? Why do my plans seem to slip through my fingers despite all my effort? The truth is simple, yet profound. We often forget to leave space for God to arrange our lives. We carry the weight of control as if the keys to the unseen rest in our hands. But the reality is far different. God knows our beginning and our end, every joy and sorrow, every challenge and every triumph, even before we were born. His wisdom is infinite, and His care for us is constant. Yet we live as if we alone must manage the course of our lives. Oh, you who burden yourself with worry, know this: God does not wish for you to be exhausted. Every delay, every closed door, every unexpected twist is part of a greater design you cannot yet see. When we insist on controlling every moment, we only exhaust ourselves and blind ourselves to the divine guidance already in motion. True peace begins when we surrender, not in weakness, but in deep awareness of God's wisdom. The moment we say in our hearts, "O Lord, manage my affairs, for I do not know how to manage them," we create space for divine intervention. That surrender is the first step toward calm, clarity, and the realization that God's arrangement never errs. In this lecture, we will explore how letting go of our futile attempts at total control, trusting in God's plan, and embracing surrender can transform our lives, bring inner peace, and lead us toward outcomes far better than we could have imagined. When we reflect on our daily lives, we notice a recurring pattern. We try to control everything, believing that meticulous planning and constant vigilance will secure the outcomes we desire. We worry about our careers, relationships, health, and even minor details of our routine. Yet, despite all this effort, life often surprises us. A plan we thought perfect suddenly falls apart, a door we expected to open closes, or a blessing we hoped for arrives in a form we did not anticipate. This constant striving and anxiety stems from a misunderstanding. We assume that control equates to safety and comfort. We forget that we are only one small part of a vast, interconnected system, and the true planner is God. Every delay, every unexpected obstacle, every moment of discomfort carries a purpose that the human mind cannot always grasp. Consider how many times we have longed for something, only to be denied, and yet later realize that its absence spared us from harm or led us toward something far better. Conversely, how often have we resisted situations we disliked, only to find that they became turning points for our growth, joy, or closeness to God? Life is full of these lessons, and the wisdom lies in recognizing the hidden hand guiding them. When a person attempts to manage every detail alone, they experience fatigue, frustration, and fear. Overthinking exhausts the mind and the heart. We calculate every step, predict every possible outcome, and prepare for every contingency, yet the results often escape our control. The human mind can only perceive fragments of reality, but God perceives the whole picture. While we see moments, He sees the entire journey. The first step toward relief is surrender. Surrender does not mean passivity or inaction. It means acknowledging our limitations and entrusting the outcome to the one who knows best. When we sincerely say, "O Lord, manage my affairs, for I do not know how to manage them," we create an opening for divine guidance and protection. This surrender transforms how we approach challenges, setbacks, and uncertainties. Instead of reacting with panic or frustration, we act with patience, wisdom, and confidence that God's plan is unfolding perfectly. It is important to remember that delays are not denials. Closed doors are not punishments. Every twist and turn in life is an opportunity for growth, a preparation for greater blessings, and a manifestation of God's mercy. When a path seems blocked, it may be redirecting us to a better course. When something is withheld, it may be preserved for the perfect time. Every event, no matter how small or seemingly insignificant, carries divine wisdom. One of the most profound aspects of surrender is the peace it brings to the heart. When we let go of the illusion of total control, anxiety diminishes and we begin to trust in God's timing, judgment, and mercy. Fear of the future fades, for we understand that God holds the unseen in His hands. This trust allows us to focus on what we can do, our efforts, prayers, and intentions, while leaving the results to God. Throughout history, the stories of the prophets illustrate this principle. They faced hardships, loss, and uncertainty, yet through trust and surrender, they were guided to outcomes beyond their imagination. Their lives teach us that divine planning is precise, merciful, and wise. By observing these examples, we learn that surrendering to God does not mean weakness. It signifies strength, wisdom, and awareness. In the coming sections, we will explore more deeply how this surrender operates in practical life, how it affects our mental and emotional well-being, and how it can transform challenges into blessings. Understanding this principle is key to living with balance, contentment, and unwavering faith. One of the most challenging aspects of life is learning to distinguish between what is within our control and what is not. We often exhaust ourselves over circumstances, relationships, and opportunities, thinking that our persistent effort alone can determine outcomes. Yet, true wisdom lies in understanding that while effort is necessary, the results ultimately belong to God. Our role is to strive, act with sincerity, and trust. God's role is to guide, arrange, and perfect. Consider the times when you desired something intensely, perhaps a career opportunity, a relationship, or a personal goal, but despite your hard work and planning, it did not materialize. Initially, you may have felt frustration, disappointment, or even despair. Yet, with time, you often discover that what seemed like a loss was actually a redirection toward a more suitable path, protection from unseen harm, or a preparation for a greater blessing. Life frequently operates in ways that are invisible to our limited perception. When we obsess over control, we create unnecessary tension and suffering. The human mind, limited in its scope, cannot foresee all outcomes or account for every variable. We see only the present, a fraction of the full reality. God, however, sees the entire tapestry of our existence, the past, the present, and the future interwoven with infinite wisdom. When we surrender to His plan, we align ourselves with a larger, harmonious order, even when it appears chaotic from our perspective. Surrender requires humility. It is an acknowledgement that, despite our intelligence and effort, there are limits to human control. This humility is not weakness, it is a source of strength. By admitting our limitations and leaving outcomes to God, we free ourselves from anxiety, regret, and unnecessary worry. Saying, "O Lord, manage my affairs, for I do not know how to manage them," is an act of courage, a declaration of trust in divine wisdom. Delays, obstacles, and setbacks are essential components of this divine arrangement. Each closed door is not a rejection but a redirection. Each postponement carries hidden benefits that may only be revealed with time. God's timing is perfect. It is never early, never late, and never arbitrary. Learning to trust this timing transforms how we approach life. Instead of dwelling on frustration, we cultivate patience, resilience, and acceptance. Our attachment to outcomes often causes the greatest suffering. When a person clings to a specific result, they experience disappointment when reality diverges from expectation. Surrender, however, is the antidote. It allows us to invest fully in our actions without being enslaved by their outcomes. The heart becomes lighter, the mind calmer, and the spirit more resilient. Through surrender, life becomes less about control and more about trust, effort, and faith. This principle is not abstract, it manifests in daily life. For instance, a student may strive diligently for success but fail to achieve the expected results. A businessperson may work tirelessly, yet opportunities may not materialize as planned. A parent may pray fervently for their child's well-being, yet the path unfolds differently. In all these scenarios, the key is not to abandon effort but to release attachment to outcomes. Recognizing God's wisdom behind delays and denials brings peace, even amid uncertainty. Surrender also fosters gratitude. When we acknowledge that God arranges our affairs with mercy and wisdom, we begin to appreciate what we have rather than lament what we lack. Gratitude opens the heart to contentment, while surrender strengthens faith. Together, they create a profound inner harmony, allowing us to face challenges with confidence, patience, and serenity. Throughout this journey, it is essential to remember that surrender is not a passive state. It does not excuse laziness or inaction. On the contrary, it encourages us to act decisively, plan diligently, and strive earnestly, but without the burden of controlling outcomes beyond our capacity. We do our part, trusting God to do His. In the next parts of the lecture, we will explore specific practices, mental approaches, and spiritual habits that enhance surrender, transform anxiety into trust, and turn apparent obstacles into blessings. By internalizing these principles, you will find your life more harmonious, your heart calmer, and your journey aligned with divine wisdom. Understanding surrender begins with recognizing the true nature of human limitation. No matter how capable, intelligent, or resourceful we may be, our understanding of life is fragmentary. We see only the present, a sliver of time, while God perceives the entire continuum, past, present, and future interwoven with wisdom, mercy, and precise planning. When we insist on controlling everything, we are essentially trying to see the unseen, to govern what is beyond our grasp, and to dictate outcomes that belong to divine wisdom. This creates tension, anxiety, and inner turmoil. Surrender is not resignation. It is conscious acknowledgement of our limitations combined with proactive engagement. It is the act of striving in the world, through work, prayer, and reflection, while releasing the need to manipulate results. It is the art of living fully in effort but fully trusting in God's arrangement. When we embrace this approach, life becomes lighter, challenges become lessons, and uncertainty transforms into a field for faith to grow. Every obstacle we encounter, every delay, and every setback has a purpose. Often, what we perceive as misfortune or denial is protection from harm we cannot foresee. Perhaps an opportunity we coveted would have brought hardship, or a person we trusted might have caused pain. By trusting God's wisdom, we begin to see that life's apparent chaos is, in reality, a carefully arranged sequence of events designed for our growth, protection, and ultimate good. Consider the stories of the prophets. Joseph, peace be upon him, was betrayed, imprisoned, and exiled, yet each of these hardships led him to a position of immense influence and eventual reunion with his family. Moses, peace be upon him, faced rejection, struggle, and danger, yet through patience and trust in God's plan, he became a leader whose legacy shaped generations. These examples teach us that what appears as suffering may be preparation for future honor, guidance, and blessing. In daily life, surrender manifests in simple yet profound ways. A student may study diligently yet face unexpected results. A professional may work tirelessly without immediate recognition. A parent may worry endlessly over a child's future. Surrender does not mean abandoning responsibility. It means acting fully while releasing attachment to the outcomes. It allows the heart to remain calm and the mind to focus on present efforts rather than hypothetical anxieties. Delays often carry hidden blessings. A missed opportunity might redirect us toward a path more aligned with our abilities or spiritual growth. A rejection might save us from future harm. A closed door may protect us from unperceived danger or prepare us for greater rewards. By embracing surrender, we cultivate patience, discernment, and clarity, understanding that the unseen hand guiding our lives is always acting with mercy, wisdom, and foresight. Surrender also strengthens emotional resilience. When we cease to obsess over controlling outcomes, we free ourselves from disappointment, frustration, and fear. We learn to trust that God, in His infinite wisdom, arranges each event for our benefit, even when the benefit is not immediately apparent. This trust fosters courage, hope, and serenity, allowing us to face life's uncertainties with confidence rather than despair. In practical terms, surrender can be expressed through daily prayer, reflection, and mindful acceptance. Phrases such as, "O Lord, manage my affairs, for I do not know how to manage them," are not mere words. They are affirmations of trust, recognition of our limitations, and invitations for divine guidance. Through these expressions, we cultivate a mindset of reliance on God while continuing to fulfill our responsibilities diligently. True surrender transforms the inner life. It shifts the focus from what we lack or fear to the presence, wisdom, and care of God. Anxiety diminishes, peace grows, and the heart becomes aligned with divine order. We learn to perceive setbacks as opportunities, challenges as lessons, and delays as preparation for greater blessings. In the next part, we will explore the psychological and spiritual mechanisms through which surrender alleviates worry, fosters patience, and transforms the perception of life's challenges. By understanding these mechanisms, one can actively cultivate a mindset that embraces surrender as a practical, daily practice, leading to lasting peace and fulfillment. Surrender is a practice that extends beyond words and enters the realm of the heart and mind. It is the conscious decision to trust in God's wisdom while engaging fully with life's responsibilities. Many of us approach challenges with tension, fear, or resistance, believing that control over every detail is necessary. This mindset, however, creates stress and exhaustion because it assumes knowledge and power that we do not possess. By contrast, surrender invites us to align our efforts with divine guidance, cultivating patience, acceptance, and inner peace. The first effect of surrender is clarity. When we release attachment to outcomes, the mind becomes less cluttered with worries about what might happen. Instead of obsessing over multiple scenarios, we can focus on the present, assessing situations with a balanced perspective. This mental clarity allows us to make decisions based on wisdom rather than fear or desperation. It frees us from the constant anxiety of what is beyond our control. Surrender also transforms our emotional response to setbacks. When a plan fails, a door closes, or an expectation is unmet, the natural reaction is often frustration, disappointment, or sorrow. Yet, if we understand that God is arranging everything with mercy and wisdom, these moments are reinterpreted as protective measures or opportunities for growth. The heart learns patience, resilience, and gratitude, even in the face of apparent adversity. The human tendency to overthink and overplan stems from a lack of trust in God's arrangement. We calculate every possibility, map every step, and prepare for every contingency, yet we cannot predict the unseen. Every calculation and strategy has limits because life is not fully observable or controllable. Surrender teaches that our efforts are necessary but incomplete. The results belong to God. This realization is liberating, for it allows us to act without the constant burden of fear and doubt. Faith and surrender are deeply intertwined. Faith is the foundation that allows surrender to take root in the heart. When we believe that God's planning is precise, merciful, and wise, we naturally release our need to control outcomes. Conversely, surrender deepens faith, as each instance of letting go and trusting God reinforces the belief that His arrangement is always for our ultimate good. This cyclical reinforcement creates a strong, resilient spiritual mindset. Surrender also reshapes how we perceive time. Delays, which often cause anxiety and impatience, become opportunities for preparation, growth, and alignment with divine timing. What seems like waiting or deprivation is, in reality, a period of refinement. It is a time for learning, for developing resilience, and for cultivating virtues such as patience, gratitude, and humility. Understanding this transforms the experience of delay from a source of stress into a stage of preparation for future blessings. A key aspect of surrender is the recognition that every individual has a unique path with its own timing, challenges, and opportunities. Comparing oneself to others, worrying about what they have, or envying their progress undermines contentment. Each person's life is arranged with divine wisdom. What is delayed for one may be immediate for another. What is denied for one may be protection. Surrender allows us to accept our unique journey and find peace in the timing, opportunities, and lessons that God has placed in our lives. Practical application of surrender involves conscious reflection, prayer, and intentional mindset shifts. Phrases such as, "O Lord, arrange my life as you love, not as I love, serve as daily reminders of our limitations and God's supreme knowledge. Regular reflection on past experiences, moments when outcomes differed from our plans but ultimately resulted in unforeseen blessings, reinforces trust. Mindfulness of God's guidance in everyday events strengthens the heart, reduces anxiety, and fosters resilience. Surrender also encourages proactive engagement rather than passivity. It is not about neglecting responsibilities or avoiding effort. Instead, it is about doing what we can while trusting God with the results. We act with sincerity, diligence, and integrity, knowing that the outcomes, timing, and hidden blessings are in God's hands. This approach fosters confidence, reduces fear of failure, and cultivates a balanced, harmonious way of living. In the next part, we will explore how surrender impacts our relationships, emotional well-being, and overall life satisfaction. We will examine the ways in which releasing control enhances our ability to interact with others with compassion, patience, and understanding, and how it contributes to a life of meaningful contentment and spiritual alignment. Surrender profoundly affects the way we interact with others, shaping our relationships with patience, understanding, and compassion. When we stop attempting to control every outcome, we stop projecting our fears and anxieties onto those around us. Instead of reacting impulsively or with frustration, we approach people and situations with gentleness, empathy, and balanced judgment. By trusting that God is arranging events, we can let go of resentment, disappointment, or judgment that arises from unmet expectations. Relationships often suffer when we cling to control. Parents may impose their will on children, expecting outcomes that align with their own plans rather than allowing the natural course of growth and development. Friends may impose expectations on each other, creating tension and dissatisfaction. Spouses may attempt to manage every aspect of a partner's behavior, leading to conflict. Surrender transforms this dynamic. It cultivates patience, understanding, and recognition that each individual's path unfolds according to divine wisdom. Emotional well-being is deeply tied to the practice of surrender. Anxiety, fear, and stress are often products of resisting the natural flow of life and attempting to govern what is beyond our reach. By releasing this compulsion and entrusting outcomes to God, the mind experiences a remarkable shift. Fear diminishes, pressure is alleviated, and the heart feels lighter. The practice of surrender creates an internal environment in which contentment and serenity can flourish, even amid challenges. Surrender also strengthens gratitude. When we trust that every event, whether perceived as gain, loss, success, or failure, is part of God's plan, we begin to see blessings in unexpected places. A missed opportunity may reveal a more suitable path. A setback may encourage growth and resilience. By recognizing that every moment carries wisdom and benefit, our hearts open to appreciation for the present and the lessons embedded within it. This gratitude is not superficial but arises from genuine understanding of God's benevolent arrangement. Another significant benefit of surrender is the development of humility. When we accept that we do not have complete control, we acknowledge our limitations and recognize God's ultimate authority. This humility does not weaken us, rather, it empowers us by aligning our efforts with divine guidance. It removes the illusion of omnipotence, which is often the source of frustration and despair, and replaces it with a grounded sense of trust, purpose, and clarity. Surrender enhances resilience in the face of life's uncertainties. Life is unpredictable, and even the most careful plans are subject to change. By cultivating a mindset of trust and surrender, we reduce the impact of disappointment and frustration. We learn to adapt, to respond thoughtfully, and to find opportunities for growth in every circumstance. Resilience is not merely enduring challenges, it is the ability to navigate life's complexities with patience, hope, and confidence in divine wisdom. Practically, surrender can be cultivated through regular reflection on past experiences where outcomes differed from our expectations but ultimately brought benefits. Recognizing the lessons and blessings in these events strengthens trust in God and reduces future anxiety. Daily prayer, meditation, and affirmations of trust reinforce this mindset, helping us internalize the principle of surrender and make it an active part of our decision-making and emotional responses. Surrender also nurtures contentment. When we stop comparing ourselves to others or obsessing over unmet expectations, we find satisfaction in our unique journey. We stop asking why opportunities were delayed for us or given to others, understanding that every path is tailored by divine wisdom. Contentment does not mean passivity. It means acceptance of our present circumstances and confidence that God's arrangement is always for our ultimate good. In embracing surrender, we also open the door to spiritual growth. Each moment of trust, each act of patience, and each instance of letting go strengthens our connection with God. The heart becomes attuned to divine guidance, and spiritual awareness deepens. We begin to perceive the subtle lessons in everyday events, the hidden gifts in challenges, and the overarching mercy in life's design. This spiritual growth enriches all aspects of life, mental, emotional, and relational. In the next part, we will explore the connection between surrender and decision-making, and how entrusting outcomes to God enhances clarity, reduces indecision, and empowers purposeful action. We will examine practical steps to integrate surrender into everyday choices while maintaining responsibility, effort, and awareness of God's guidance. Surrender deeply influences the way we make decisions, offering clarity, focus, and confidence. When we attempt to control outcomes entirely, our minds are often clouded by fear, doubt, and the pressure of what-ifs. Overthinking, second-guessing, and anxiety dominate, making even simple decisions feel overwhelming. Surrender alleviates this mental burden by reminding us that we do our part while leaving results to God, who knows the unseen and orchestrates everything with precision. Decision-making with surrender does not mean passivity or lack of effort. On the contrary, it encourages active engagement, thoughtful reflection, and deliberate action. The difference lies in mindset. Rather than obsessing over outcomes beyond our control, we focus on what we can influence, the effort, the intention, and the sincerity behind our actions. Once we act responsibly and consciously, we release the outcome to God with trust. This balance between effort and reliance is the essence of productive surrender. Surrender enhances clarity because it shifts attention from fear-driven speculation to grounded awareness. When we are no longer consumed by what-ifs or regrets, our judgment is sharper, our priorities clearer, and our choices more aligned with wisdom. We begin to distinguish between opportunities that are meaningful and distractions that are irrelevant or harmful. We also develop discernment to recognize when an action may be wiser than hasty action, trusting that God's timing and arrangement are perfect. Indecision often arises from attachment to control. We hesitate because we fear making mistakes, losing, or missing an opportunity. Surrender does not eliminate caution, rather, it reduces paralysis by reframing outcomes as part of God's plan. With this perspective, mistakes become learning experiences, losses become protective measures, and missed opportunities may reveal hidden blessings. The mind that surrenders moves forward with confidence rather than hesitation. Another benefit of surrender in decision-making is reduced anxiety. Anxiety is fueled by uncertainty, yet surrender reminds us that uncertainty is not chaos, it is part of a divine order beyond our comprehension. By trusting in God's arrangement, we allow ourselves to act without the constant weight of worry. This freedom from anxiety creates space for creativity, innovation, and proactive problem-solving, enabling more effective and thoughtful decisions. Surrender also fosters patience. Many decisions involve waiting for clarity, for outcomes, for responses from others, or for alignment with circumstances. Patience is easier to cultivate when we recognize that God's timing is not our timing and that delays often carry hidden benefits. Patience nurtures perseverance, allowing us to remain consistent and committed, even when immediate results are not visible. This endurance strengthens character and deepens faith. Practical strategies to integrate surrender into decision-making include prayer, reflection, and mindful acknowledgement of limitations. Simple phrases like, "O Lord, guide me to what is best for my heart and my path," or, "O Lord, if this is for my good, make it easy. If not, divert it with your mercy," help center the mind and heart, creating a sense of trust that allows us to act decisively. Reviewing past experiences where surrender led to positive outcomes reinforces confidence and reduces fear of uncertainty. Surrender also improves collaboration and interpersonal decision-making. When we are not attached to outcomes, we can listen to others without defensiveness, respect differing perspectives, and make fair, thoughtful choices that honor relationships and mutual benefit. Trusting in God's plan diminishes the ego-driven need to dominate or control others, allowing for harmonious interactions and decisions made with integrity. Finally, surrender strengthens resilience when decisions do not produce the expected results. Life is inherently unpredictable, and even well-intended actions may lead to unexpected consequences. A surrendered heart sees these outcomes not as failures, but as parts of God's arrangement that may contain hidden wisdom, protection, or blessings. This perspective prevents discouragement, reduces regret, and allows for continued effort without fear or resentment. In the next and final part of the main body, we will explore the culmination of surrender in life, how trust, patience, and reliance on God's guidance create a life of profound peace, spiritual depth, and enduring contentment. We will connect the principles of surrender across relationships, decision-making, and emotional well-being into a holistic practice for living fully and faithfully. The final part of surrender is the integration of trust, patience, and reliance on God's guidance into every facet of life. When surrender becomes a natural part of our thinking, it transforms not only our inner world but also our external experiences. Life no longer feels like a series of challenges to overcome, but rather a journey guided by divine wisdom, where each step has purpose and meaning. Surrender allows us to navigate uncertainty with confidence. Instead of fearing the unknown or obsessing over what might happen, we move forward with assurance that God's arrangement encompasses all details, large and small. This assurance does not eliminate responsibility. We still act with diligence and intention. However, our actions are no longer burdened by worry or the illusion that we must control every outcome. Instead, each step is accompanied by a quiet faith that God's guidance is active and precise. Spiritual depth grows as surrender becomes habitual. The heart recognizes that life's difficulties are not punishments but opportunities for growth, patience, and closeness to God. We begin to see the invisible threads connecting events, understanding that apparent setbacks often carry hidden blessings. Surrender opens the eyes of the heart to perceive the subtle ways in which God provides, protects, and guides, fostering gratitude, humility, and spiritual insight. Contentment is another fruit of complete surrender. When we trust God's arrangement, we cease comparing ourselves to others or fixating on unmet expectations. We stop measuring our lives against arbitrary standards and instead accept our unique journey. Each person's path, sustenance, and moments are divinely allotted. What is ours cannot be taken, and what is not ours cannot be seized. This awareness releases the heart from jealousy, envy, and unnecessary striving, replacing them with peace and satisfaction. Surrender also transforms our response to adversity. Challenges no longer provoke panic, despair, or frustration. Instead, we approach difficulties with patience and acceptance, recognizing them as part of God's design for growth, protection, and spiritual elevation. Even losses, delays, and unfulfilled desires become sources of wisdom, resilience, and preparation for greater blessings. Surrendering does not remove difficulties, but it removes the fear and agitation that make them unbearable. Moreover, surrender fosters inner strength. By relinquishing control, we paradoxically gain power over our emotions and reactions. We are no longer tossed by every unexpected event or swayed by fear and doubt. Our focus shifts from external circumstances to internal balance, from trying to manipulate outcomes to maintaining faith and composure. This inner strength manifests as patience, courage, and serenity in all situations. The culmination of surrender is a harmonious life. When we integrate trust in God, patience in waiting, and reliance on divine guidance, our lives align with both purpose and peace. Decisions are made with clarity, relationships flourish with understanding, and challenges are met with resilience. Each moment, whether joyful or testing, becomes a testament to God's care, guidance, and mercy. We learn to appreciate the beauty of life's design, recognizing that nothing is wasted, nothing is arbitrary, and nothing escapes divine wisdom. Practically, daily reminders and reflections enhance this holistic surrender. Beginning the day with intentions of trust, reflecting on past lessons of divine guidance, and ending the day with gratitude create a continuous cycle of faith, peace, and growth. Simple affirmations like, "O Lord, arrange my life with your wisdom and mercy," reinforce the mindset of surrender, allowing it to influence thoughts, actions, and emotional responses throughout the day. Ultimately, surrender is an ongoing practice, not a one-time decision. Each challenge, delay, and unexpected event is an opportunity to strengthen our reliance on God. Over time, this practice reshapes the heart, mind, and soul, producing a life characterized by tranquility, purpose, and joy. True surrender frees us from the exhausting cycle of control, overthinking, and worry, replacing it with peace, patience, and profound faith. By embracing surrender fully, we discover a life of harmony with divine will. We no longer torment ourselves with the illusion of control, nor do we despair over what we cannot predict. Instead, we move confidently, knowing that God arranges every detail for our ultimate good, protection, and growth. The heart that surrenders lives in balance, the mind rests in clarity, and the soul rejoices in the constant presence of God's mercy. Surrender, then, is not simply letting go, it is an active, conscious, and faithful engagement with life, guided by the certainty that God's planning is perfect. When practiced consistently, surrender transforms life into a journey of peace, spiritual growth, and contentment. We may face challenges, uncertainties, and delays, but these are no longer sources of torment. They are the expressions of divine wisdom, carefully placed to guide, protect, and enrich our lives. In the journey of life, surrendering to God's wisdom and guidance is the key to true peace and contentment. We often exhaust ourselves trying to control outcomes, overthinking every step and worrying about what lies ahead. Yet, the reality is that every detail of our lives, our sustenance, our challenges, our joys, and even our setbacks has already been arranged with divine precision. The heart that trusts this arrangement finds relief from anxiety, clarity in decisions, and strength in adversity. Surrender does not mean giving up effort or responsibility. It means acting with diligence, making choices with intention, and then leaving results in the hands of the one who sees the unseen and knows the unseen. When we release control, we create space for divine guidance to work in our lives, for blessings to manifest in the right time, and for protection from what may seem desirable but is ultimately harmful. Every delay, closed door, or unexpected turn is part of a greater plan designed with mercy and wisdom. Those who practice surrender experience life differently. They face challenges with patience, perceive setbacks as lessons, and embrace delays as preparation. They are no longer prisoners of fear, doubt, or regret because they understand that God's arrangement is perfect and that nothing written for them can be denied. Surrender fosters gratitude, inner strength, and resilience, transforming life into a harmonious journey of faith, trust, and contentment. So, let go of the burden of control. Place your trust fully in God, and say from your heart, "O Lord, arrange my life as you love, not as I love." When you surrender in this way, your heart will find tranquility, your mind clarity, and your soul a lasting peace. You will never regret leaving your life in the hands of the one who never errs.